Holy crap, we are live. I just want to say my computer went down.
Little bit of technical difficulties and various things happening here, but we're here.
How are you?
I'm great. Yeah, happy summer. Super
Whew.
beautiful out there.
It is super. It's very hot. I'm glowing.
Yeah. Oh, you're up in Shawnigan, right? And so you got a little bit windy.
Windy?
You said hot and glowing.
No, I'm glowing.
Oh, okay. Yes. All right. Sorry. Hearing aids.
So over the past week, how have things been going for you, Andrew? Oh, first of all, hi everybody. I'm Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun. And here is...
Hi everybody, it's Andrew Plank with Royal LePage. We are very happy to be here today.
Yeah, so how was your week?
It was a good week. Yeah, again, it's been summertime and I've been in kind of summertime mode. So been pretty quiet for me and I'm enjoying that.
I heard there was a huge lineup of people leaving Langford last week.
Right.
Like it was like a mass exodus. So the highway was backed all the way up, like I think to Millstream.
Yeah, I got to watch. And oh man, I think it's a long weekend coming up. And yeah, I'm planning to get out of town. So I don't know if I'll be like waiting hours to get out of town.
Well, here's a tip. Use your Google Maps and that'll tell you your estimated time. And I didn't really believe it till the other day when I was driving and all of a sudden they're like, turn right here. I'm thinking, turn right here. Okay. So I didn't do that. And then 3 blocks down, there was a huge snarl up of traffic.
Yeah.
So
it can tell when there's congestion because I guess it's reading everybody else's phones too. And you get that red line where it's like, it's going to be a wait.
Yeah. So let's start. So last week, BC announced a recession period. We're going to talk about it today. It's going to come into effect January. We really don't know all the nuts and bolts yet, but we'll do our market update first, and then we'll talk about what realtors are talking about.
We know it's coming. We have some details. We don't know all the fine points, but we're going to anticipate some of those today and talk it through. But yeah, let's talk about the market. Have you got that up and ready to go?
Yep.
All right. It does not look like it.
Okay, I'll do the first one. So month to date, so far, we've had 285 sales. That's compared to 835. Sorry, we've had 398. That's compared to 835 last July in 2021. And that's just over 113 since last week. 100. Yeah, so that's interesting. You want to do new listings?
Yeah, things are still happening. There are still sales happening. It is summertime, but we are seeing, and the next step, graph will show us a lot of interesting stuff. But new listings coming on in so far this month, as of July 25th, 870 new listings came on. Compare that to the full month of July in 2021, 971. We're not too far off point there, really. We may actually end up with more listings new this month than last if the trend continues, because we got another week yet.
Yeah, and then overall, our listings right now are 2,164. That's compared to 1,270 last year. So we're heading into more of a balanced market.
Right.
Awesome.
So I'll take this one from the top. So on the right column there, July 25th, 2022, 237 new listings in the last week. Compare that to 258 the week before. Again, you expect things to slow down a little in summer in terms of activity. 138 properties went pending. So still, again, lots of sales, over half of the new listings in terms of ratio versus 147 the week before. Do you want to talk about price decreases?
Yeah, so 132 price decreases. So if you're listed, you will know that maybe your agent might be talking to you.
Hopefully.
Yeah, if you're having no viewings. And then solds, so these are properties that completed last week, but they were negotiated 2 or 3
Mhm.
months ago, 125 compared to 203 the week before.
27 properties expired versus 30 the week before. And 12 properties were withdrawn. They were just taken off market for whatever reason. They may have relisted. They may have just decided to change things up.
Yeah, and I expect a lot of properties will be withdrawn or
Yeah.
expired this week at the end of the month.
Right. Yeah. I want to go back to you mentioned that, hopefully agents are talking to their clients about activity and trying to forecast where things are going and decide if they're on point for the price for the market. And so they may be talking about price decreases and then actually engaging in those. But what do you find, so at what point do you find those conversations are good to have? What do you find your clients tend to how do you find they tend to respond on average? Like the whole conversation around a price decrease and where the market's going and whether one's even necessary is pretty interesting.
So, I mean, first of all, I think there needs to be a marketing plan around a price decrease. You don't just do a price decrease and expect everything to just kind of,
Mhm.
what you anyway, our marketing plan is we do a reverse prospect. We put
Mhm.
notifications out on social media and we do an announcement. And usually we do an open house, depends on if it's a tenanted property or not. We don't tend to do open houses on tenanted properties. So, but there are ways of seeing realtors who have clients who are interested in properties. So we do that. And then we send out a notification to everybody. And that just tells people we're more motivated than we were before. And a price decrease, what I say to them, it's a notification to the public that says, hey, I'm here. Let's bring our listing further up into people's price range or down into people's price range. And let's bring it up in the hot sheets. What
Mhm.
about you? What do you say?
Well, I mean, so yes, I agree with you. Like a reverse prospect. What this is folks, is you can do a little search to see if we do a price change, how many more property searches that realtors have set up will this new price get it in front of. So sometimes a $5,000 price point may make no difference in terms of how many people actually see it, or very little difference, whereas a 10,000 may make a big difference, or the 5,000 might make the difference. So you want to know at what point and share it with your clients. This is where a significant amount of new eyes on the prize happen, and this is where not so many happen. But further to that, I think the whole the bigger picture is, are we on point for the market? Do we have a unique property and we just need to continue to hold on, or is the market shifting and changing? Did we make an error originally in listing, and do we need a plan around this? And this is where, Jane, you're talking about, look, hey, if nothing's happening and it's showing that we're off market, what do we have to do to bring it into alignment? And how do we get more people coming back and relaunch this listing?
Yeah. So you can relist or you can do a price reduction.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the relisting one time I found it made such a big difference. We were listed just over $1 million. This is like probably 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was considered very high end. And then we relisted at $9.99 and we staged it with
Mm-hmm.
Melanie Henson. And people came to the open house and they're like, yeah, so tell me about this house. And I realized they hadn't actually seen the house.
Yep. I realized this years ago, when even before real estate, when I had the camera shop and I had stuff on my shelves, and people would come in and after seeing that stuff on the shelves a few times round, they would stop noticing it. It just became sort of background. So I find that with listings, sometimes, if it doesn't catch somebody's attention immediately, you may need to pull things back, make a change. And, maybe that's new photos. Maybe that's just shifting the photos up in terms of the order so that the first photo people see is different. But when you do a price change, there's a lot of strategy to it beyond just changing price. But again, do we even need to do a price change? In this market, maybe we do, but maybe we don't. There might be and this is a conversation with your client. Do they believe the market's going to rebound at some point? And they're just, are we holding in a dip, or this is like there's a large amount of I find there's a lot of talking when it comes to price reductions.
Well, it's
Unless you have a
interesting you
strategy
say
right
that.
off the bat.
We're totally off topic, but anyway,
Yeah.
I'll just carry on. I do find too that sometimes, so if you're listed at the end of the year and your clients want to sell, almost everybody will come off just before the holidays in December. So if you stay on the market, you are more likely to sell at that time than any other time of the year, even though it's considered to be a terrible time to sell. And so, like, I had clients who really wanted to sell. We were getting no offers. And so I was just watching all these other listings flipping off. This is in December of 2019. And I'm like, just keep it on for 2 more weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep it on. Just keep it on. And we sold.
The thing is I think people during those periods of time feel like sellers are more desperate and will bring maybe more aggressive offers. But the thing sellers have to understand or remember is they don't have to take those offers. They can hold to their price if they feel that they've got value there. And if they feel like maybe if they come back on in the spring and they're willing to wait and willing to take that risk. But it's not about, so I have the conversation, again, we're really off topic, but just briefly, like, have you had the conversation with people who say, I don't want to reduce my price because it makes me look desperate?
Well, I say that to clients when they ask me to follow up with, can you follow up with the realtors? I'm like, I don't want to make you look desperate. The fact that you're not responding is actually a response.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So that's sort of the other way around. And, but sellers will sometimes say to me, I don't want to reduce my price. It makes me look desperate. And people will bring really low ball offers.
Could be true, but also I know that in some cases it actually stimulates a multiple offer because you're all of a sudden they go, okay, you know what? I was on the fence with that property. Now let's go in.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing is, I've seen this many times where you drop the price, suddenly you're getting activity, and then people bring offers that were back up near what you were asking before, sometimes even over, because suddenly it's in front of people's eyes and they're paying attention to it. Like your example where people were coming through and saying, oh, I hadn't really noticed this home before. So if we can get people's attention and bring them through, then they will establish the value for themselves once they've actually seen it, but we need to get them through the home. Anyway.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about, first of all, let's talk about the Recision period. So first of all, there are 2 ways of spelling Recision. I went with the simplest. You have to Google Recision because it's RESCISCISSION or RECISION. Needless to say, that will cause a lot of problems. So
trying to find what the government is spelling it like, but anyway.
They're calling it the home buyer protection period.
Right, because they don't want people to have to misspell it.
Right. So they spell it RECISION. It includes a rescission or cancellation fee of 0.25%. So that's $250 for every 100,000.
If you choose to back out of the deal.
Yeah. For example, if you buy $1 million home, if you're offering on $1 million home and you walk away, it'll cost $2,500 to the buyer. And so what I'm assuming is, I don't know, that they're going to demand a certified check on the Monday morning or whatever that the offer is written. I'm assuming that these offers are not going to be happening on I don't even get how they're going to do this actually.
No,
because
it's going to be really interesting. So, yeah.
So if you write an offer, so let's say, Andrew, you're my realtor and we want to write an offer and come on, it's $1 million. And, but you know what? We're going to end up negotiating up to $1,010,000. So all of a sudden my $2,500 bank draft isn't going to cut it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of suspect that, well, let's look at it this way. When we're negotiating offers, folks, often there's a deposit, and sometimes the deposit's written as payable with the offer, and often it's payable when the offer goes unconditional. This rescission period is really, I think, intended around unconditional offers. I'm really unclear on whether or not it engages after you've removed conditions as well. If it's anything like new construction, then you can write an offer that includes conditions, but also the rescission period. It's a 7-day rescission period, begins right from when your offer is I think is accepted. So it's probably similar to that. But
So
if
one of
you,
the questions from Cheryl is, will it only apply to unconditional
this is,
though, or conditional offers because they're now working against other buyers? We don't know. The barn door is closed on multiple offers, I think, anyway. Like the horse has left. So
this protection is coming in
too late.
too little too late for, the market is really shifting. So are we going to see a use case for this as much as it would have been useful maybe earlier? Probably not. Will we see it in the future if in a different market? Maybe. But
will there still be a mandatory down payment on your purchase, even if you're not in competition?
this is the thing, right? So who knows?
So this is not unique to British Columbia. It is happening elsewhere. I've heard 17 days in California. I've heard 10 days in other states. One of my friends said, well, let's say you write an unconditional offer and you actually put in a deposit of 100,000, and then that's one way to get around it. And then you get your whatever 97,500 back.
Mm-hmm.
You've just laundered your money.
Okay.
If you are a nefarious buyer who's not really buying with like wanting to do the due diligence, and you write an unconditional offer,
You're moving money around is what you're saying.
You're moving the money around.
Well, there are a lot of eyes on the prize in terms of the reporting. We have this FinTrack reporting we have to do that does identify and confirm all of this stuff. So the government, if there is money laundering, the government would probably be able to watch that one pretty closely.
Well, we have to report money laundering if we suspect it. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, Cheryl, we don't know.
Cheryl also earlier said that Finlayson Arm Road to bypass traffic signal if you're going up island. So folks,
bonus marks.
Yeah.
Okay. What if they are offering on a property and it's tenanted and they want to do an inspection, but they can't arrange an inspection of the property?
So what's confusing to me here is entirely, if you write an unconditional offer, you have no right to do an inspection. And even though there's a rescission period that allows you, nominally they say it allows you to do things like this research, the seller has no obligation to let you into the house. You haven't made an offer subject to inspection. And they accepted your offer based on the fact that you were clearly not interested in doing these things. Otherwise, you would have written that into your offer. So I don't understand. I feel like the rescission period is a cooling off period. So you can say, I think I may have made a mistake, but it doesn't give you a right to this due diligence unless you write those into your contract. And if you do, then hopefully you're able to walk away if you find in the building inspection things you don't like, or you can't get your financing in order, without having that penalty of $250 per 100,000, because otherwise it's making it more punitive on buyers than it actually currently is. And these are some of the unknown pieces that we're looking at right now.
So an unintended consequence of this. So mm-hmm. I put this question on a realtor site and I was watching for all the answers. But one of the unintended consequences is that it takes the wind out of the sails of the seller. And so if after 3 days the first offer goes sideways, do you have a backup offer in place? Is that one then subject to a rescission period? Or, does it start? Does a backup offer start?
The backup offer rescission period would probably start at the same time it was accepted, which would be, if the first offer, which may mean that you might get notification of the first offer falling apart at the last minute of the 3 days of its mandatory period. And you may have only a few hours to a day of your own time to kind of really decide if you're going forward or not.
Yeah. So another unintended consequence, they were talking in the mainland that how developers are really looking for land, and they are here. That between developers, there may be assignments of contracts, or there may be a buyer agent who's like, okay, I'm going to reserve this for my guy who's out of town.
So that's possible. You'd have to include, I mean, the listing agent would be having a conversation with their seller, because that contract would have language in it that allows for assignment. Currently, contracts by default don't allow assignment, but you can include language that does. And if you do, then that opens up a lot more flexibility for buyers to tie something up, go shop it around for 3 days, find somebody to take it on, and maybe sign the contract and make a lift. That's what was called the shadow flipping in the past, or that was what the media called it for at one point. But
which is more a mainland BC thing than it is a Victoria thing. But the reason for the penalty, Cheryl, is because they want to stop agents writing offers or buyers writing offers on more than one property, so that there's some penalty. But I think that if somebody has a lot of money, they won't care. For somebody who is, marginalized or on the edge, like, during the past years, people were spending up to $600 on inspections.
Yeah.
And then after a while, they're like, pardon?
Or more if there was septic and other things to inspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then they were walking away. I mean, well, they didn't get the deal. And so, like, Well,
let's use an example of this, because in the, there's always some really amazing properties that list that are maybe really well priced. And even in a market that is a high buyer's market where lots of selection and sellers are having a hard time selling, there's still going to be some properties that are just going to stand out and buyers are going to flock to, and they're going to compete for those. But it's going to be the unconditional offers that tend to attract the seller, because they don't have to, they're not waiting on inspections or anything else. They have clarity on what's happening. But maybe two properties, and especially in a seller's market, 2 properties list or 3 properties list at the same time, offers are being reviewed at a certain time, and the buyer is saying, I kind of like all 3 of these, and I'm not sure which one I'm going to be successful in buying. And if I wait, if they're looking at offers Tuesday on this one I kind of like, but they're looking at offers Wednesday on this one that I really like, and if I offer on Tuesday and get it, I may not get Wednesday. If I offer on Wednesday and don't offer on Tuesday and I don't get Wednesday, I've missed out on both. So with this, there's a cost value in saying, you know what, I'm going to just keep throwing my hat in the ring. I've got the cash behind me to take the risk. If I can get this one, great. And if I don't get this one, I'm going to get the next one.
Yeah. And, and we would always say to people, well, you can't write on 2 properties at the same time. And I think that's still the same case, because you're not supposed to write if you don't have the intention of following through.
So yes, I mean, again, semantics, you can write on more than one property at a time, but it's, especially if you have the capacity to buy both, but it's hard to read into somebody's, it's a lot harder to sue someone after the fact. And the fact is that people will still do this, but you're right. We would discourage that kind of activity.
Right. And I think also, as a listing agent, you're just going to have to ask more perceptive questions so that you get the answer to see, are you writing on any other properties? When are you writing on those, or have you written on those?
Yeah.
And just, is your financing all in place? Is everything, together? Because that sort of stuff, it makes a difference between a good offer and a great offer. Great offer. That's why you want to work with a realtor who has a great reputation, because they're going to represent you well in that.
I like working with agents that I know say, they vet their clients, and you can generally trust that when they're talking about the qualities of their clients or what's going on with their offer, that they will work hard to make it happen. And they're not just frivolously throwing things out at you and telling you what you want to hear in order to make a decision. And so you can get slimed. That's not quite the right word, but you can sometimes work with folks that you don't feel that sense of trust, or you've had problems in the past, and that's cumulative. There's positive cumulative, negative cumulative effect when you're working with. So so Jane and I are both agents who try to work and play well with others in the sandbox, because we know that it serves our clients well as well.
Well, and also I think that when I say my client has their financing together, they have their financing together.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But, here's the thing. I actually went through this last week where this client was interested in 2 properties, and I had to say to them, "Listen, you have to deal with the first property first that you've
Mhm.
written on, and yes, as other properties come up, but you have to wait until the first one is done before you can offer on the second one." And, telling somebody who's highly motivated they can't write is a very hard thing to do, and you really have to stick to your guns. One of our duties of care is to obey all lawful instructions.
Yep. And
So
that's the thing I was going to jump in on is, I think it's important, and it's important to me that we let our clients know, that you can write more than one offer if you intend to, but you should probably get legal advice. That I can't tell you should or shouldn't do this, but here are the consequences of doing it, and you should probably get some legal advice, because there can be some ramifications for doing this.
karma, baby, karma.
So I want to go back to one of the knockoff effects. Can you bring back that list there for the
Yes.
effect? So you mentioned this. I just want to talk about how this could work. Jane looks like she's frozen. No, she hasn't. She's just concentrating. It really looked like you were frozen. So if you are a seller and you are lined up to, you've gone through all the trouble to prepare your home for sale, to have people come through the home and have it presented well, and then you receive a lot of interest in multiple offers in that property, and the ultimate buyer buys it. There's no conditions, but at the end of the rescission period, they walk away. You as the seller now have to go back, and you've lost a lot of momentum, because everything that you've done that was all lined up to draw the buyers in and have the most activity you possibly could. And the most activity that happens in a listing happens at the very beginning. You then have to go back to the drawing board, and like we were saying earlier about price reductions, we have to maybe come up with another strategy and shift. And there's a strong chance you won't get as much activity, which translates into probably not as many buyers, which translates into probably not as much money on the second or third time around. And this could happen multiple times to someone with this rescission period. You could have an offer that comes in, it's unconditional, and then they walk away, and it happens again and again. And after a week or two of this, buyers are going to say, and maybe it was all, for whatever it was the buyer's remorse or something that had nothing at all to do with the property. But it's going to impact the property, because people are going to perceive that property as no longer of interest. They're going to wonder why it's been on market for longer than average, and they're going to then not. It's the greater fool theory. They're not going to want to bring a full offer. So it's a problem, because if people really are in good faith wanting to bring offers, then this walk away period does affect sellers a lot negatively, I believe.
I do too. And I think, they want to take the wind out of the sales. This is exactly why we have to do a bunch of, for people who haven't bought or sold in a long time, we have to do a bunch of disclosures when we list a property. We have to do a bunch of disclosures when we buy a property about the money we're earning. And it takes a long time to do that.
Mhm.
So sometimes it can, you have to go back to the paperwork rather than dealing with the offer. The government has put their interests in front of the needs, I think, of the seller or buyer, because we disclose in the listing contract, we disclose in the buyer agency contract, we disclose when we write the offer, and then they want us to disclose again. And it's really onerous. And so I just see
it's not
way
just
more
onerous.
paperwork.
Yeah, it's not just onerous, but you're talking about the requirement to disclose commission during offer period, where there could be there's been times where you're viewing 20 offers and you have to calculate commission for each one. And then if there's a change or a counter offer or negotiations, calculate again. And what happens is it just puts so much drag on the actual real-time negotiations that some offers fall apart because they've run out of time. Offers are only open for a certain period of time. It does create a lot of drag. And so all of this paperwork, for better or for worse, the intention, I think, is to put some friction into the system.
Right. And I can see this causing a lot of problem with brokerages as well, because they're going to be, they're going to have to hire somebody just to take the money in, hold the money, and then refund the money if somebody walks away partially, and figure all that out. Oh my God.
Yeah, no. So the knock-on effect as well about, we were talking about where does the deposit come in? At what point do you bring it? If you're writing an unconditional offer, I'm the seller's agent, and I'm looking at offers that are coming in unconditional. We know they're going to be subject to the rescission period. The buyer is offering up deposit and they've got it ready to go, and there's a $50,000 deposit on this $1 million home. They've got the bank draft ready to go. And so when you accept the offer, the bank draft goes into trust right away. 2 days later, the buyer decides to walk away, and the rescission period is open. I've got to assume then that because we have, depending on how that deposit was provided, we may have to wait to give that deposit back. Depending on what the seller feels about that rescission, in theory, hopefully the deposit just gets to go right back to the buyer.
Well, the other potential side effect is that buyers are going to be putting bigger non-refundable deposits in, and they're going to cost them a lot more money.
Yeah, and can you even do that, or will the legislation say no, you can't write a non-refundable? Within the 3 days, that deposit is always refundable. And this is where we're getting into the weeds of. What do you mean?
Well, the $250 per 100,000. So that part is not going to be, but I think this is what I'm going to say. This is, realtors will find a way to edge out others so that it's to the benefit of their clients. So, and you just have to make sure that it's, legal.
Well, realtors and buyers and sellers will all be looking, once we're in this new environment, we'll be looking for where are the loopholes and what are the workarounds, and what is the reality of this. And anytime there is new legislation like this, it does create friction, it does impact the market, and does slow things down. We are moving into a slower market. So this slowdown may actually add too much brakes to something that's naturally breaking already. And we'll see what happens again. We already have really high interest rates.
I see another course in our future. I was trying to get you to laugh while you were drinking.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, so have we covered the basis? Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, if you guys have questions, let us know. Yeah, just, I love the interaction here from Cheryl.
Yeah, thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you, Cheryl. Appreciate it.
She said, did we talk about this one? It isn't. Yeah, there you go. It just isn't logical for buyers to be penalized for walking away if it's due to one of their subjects not being that satisfactory, like financing, for instance, or inspection showing up a big problem. So that's the question we don't really know the answer to. If you have an offer that is conditional and you walk away, then does that overcome the walk away period from the rescission? You're walking away legitimately based on something you found. You're going to have a 3-day rescission period, but you're probably going to need 10 days to 2 weeks for financing.
And there's a link. Andrew did put it in the comments above. So if you're interested, you can have a look at it. Okay, I think we've covered it today. Thank you, Andrew. Interesting as well. Always. So next week is a holiday weekend. And so Monday is a holiday, so we won't be on. So we may do an update during the week after that. But have a great week, everybody. Have a great heat dome. And a secret I read is to get a box, put a fan on one end of the box, 2 holes, and allow the air to go over ice in the bucket and allow it to cool your house. It's the
I forget what
cheapest way.
it's like an Arizona cooler or something. I forget. There's a name for it, but yes.
So pretty easy to manufacture if you're interested. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of
Thank
YouTube
you.
videos out there.
Thanks, Cheryl. All right. Andrew, how do
You're
people
wonderful too, Cheryl. Thank you.
how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, reach out. I'm at 250-360-6106. Email anytime, info@andrewplank.com. And again, the website, andrewplank.com. Come check it out. There's lots of video and other resources there, including these episodes.
Okay. And you can reach me. My name is Jane Johnston. My number is 250-744-0775. You can reach me at briarhillgroup@gmail.com. You can go to my website to look at videos on buying and selling at briarhillgroup.com, or you can go to vancouverislandtime.com and see these and more videos about neighborhoods. And everybody, please don't forget to subscribe. Boom. All right. Have a great week. As always, it was a pleasure.
Thanks, Jane. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your time up at the cabin.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody.